Tonight's shadowy flight takes us down the roads of nostalgia in a sleek black Trans Am and into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist. Michael Knight, a once young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of criminals who operate above the law. However, this crusade is becoming increasingly harder for the aged loner to fight alone, forcing an unlikely collaboration with a new generation of operatives. The desert sun slowly set across Michael Knight's secluded ranch house. He sat on the porch with a glass of tea, ice cubes clinking against the sides as he adjusted his position to ease the persistent ache in his lower back. 65 years had etched lines around his eyes that crinkled when he smiled, and his once dark hair now carried distinguished streaks of silver at the temples. "Michael, how is your knee today?" Kit's voice emanated from the modified watch on his wrist. "Same as yesterday. Complains when it rains, screams when I run." Michael rubbed the offending joint. "Guess that's what I get for all those ejector seat high jumps onto 3-story buildings. What about you, pal? How are your systems?" "My primary interface experienced 3 momentary lapses this morning. Bonnie promised to look at it next week, but finding compatible parts becomes increasingly difficult." Kit's voice remained the same, but the occasional static betrayed the aging circuitry beneath. The peace of twilight was suddenly shattered when his watch flashed red, accompanied by Kit's urgent tone. "Emergency alert, Michael. Priority Alpha." He straightened in his seat. "What is it?" "Diana Miles has been abducted. Security footage shows 4 armed individuals forcing her into an unmarked vehicle outside Knight Foundation headquarters 7 minutes ago. Devon's daughter." Michael was already moving, muscle memory overriding the complaints of his aging body. "Activate her tracker." "Already done. Signal located moving eastbound on Highway 16. He hurried to the garage where Kit's sleek black form waited, no longer the pristine machine of its heyday, but still impressive. As he slid behind the wheel, the familiar interior lit up with displays that flickered occasionally. "Every Knight Industries executive has a subcutaneous tracking device," Kit explained as they pulled onto the road. "Diana's is functioning normally, though the signal shows occasional interference. What would anyone want with her? Other than the names of our field agents, the Foundation's work has been public for years." "Unknown, Michael. Diana's security clearance grants access to all Foundation projects, but nothing currently in development would warrant such action." "Someone thinks otherwise." Michael pressed the accelerator, ignoring the twinge in his knee. "Let's find out who." Black asphalt stretched endlessly before them as Kit accelerated down Highway 16. The Trans Am's engine hummed with precision despite the occasional mechanical hiccup. Michael's weathered hands gripped the steering wheel, his eyes scanning the horizon, while the desert landscape blurred past in shades of amber and rust. "According to my calculations, we should intercept Diana's signal in approximately 8 minutes," Kit said. assuming they maintain their current speed and heading. Michael nodded. Any word from the Foundation for Law and Government? No update from Flag yet. Bonnie's coordinating with local authorities, Kit replied, its voice display pulsing with each word. She mentioned Diana was working late on some new initiative program when it happened. Michael's eyes softened. Just like her father. Devon never could leave the office at a reasonable hour either. A moment of silence filled the car's interior as both man and machine reflected on their old friend. The desert wind whispered against Kit's exterior, almost like a sigh. I still find myself expecting to hear Devon's voice when we receive mission parameters, Kit said in a quiet tone. 8 years since his passing, and that expectation remains in my programming. Michael nodded, lines deepening around his brow. I know what you mean, partner. Some mornings I wake up half expecting a call from him about some urgent matter that simply cannot wait, he quipped, mimicking Devon's proper British accent. Diana has carried his legacy admirably, Kit observed. The Foundation's success rate has increased 21% under her leadership. She's got his determination and twice his technical know-how. Perfect combination. Michael smiled, his expression warming with pride. Remember last month when she reprogrammed your navigation system? Indeed. She implemented improvements that even I hadn't considered. Diana mentioned yesterday that she was planning additional upgrades to my processing core next week. Sounds like someone besides me still appreciates your service. Michael chuckled, rubbing the dash. Speaking of service, Victoria Barstow's field performance statistics arrived this morning. Quite impressive for someone so new to field operations. Michael's eyebrows rose. Bonnie's daughter? I thought she was just tech support. She completed her field training 3 months ago. Her aptitude scores were remarkable. In fact, she's already broken your record for successful asset retrieval in high-risk environments. The car swerved slightly as Michael's grip tightened. Is that so? Yes. 23 successful retrievals in 8 weeks. Your record was 21. Michael cleared his throat. Well, that's something. Guess that fancy partner of hers must be working out. Kim, is it? Knight Industries motorcycle, Kit corrected, a hint of static in its modulated voice. Its turbo boost jump exceeds mine by 42 feet, and its adaptive terrain capabilities allow access to locations I cannot navigate. There's more to this job than turbo boosts and aptitude tests, buddy, he assured. Silence filled the cabin for a moment before Kit spoke again in a softer tone. Michael, does it concern you that the Foundation is developing new field agents and vehicles? Michael sighed, rubbing his knee absently. We can't do this forever, buddy. Diana's been shifting resources toward the next generation for years. It's only a matter of time before we outlive our usefulness. I do find myself processing unusual algorithms lately. Something akin to concern about my continuing utility. You mean you're worried about becoming obsolete? Join the club, pal. The tracker signal on Kit's dashboard began pulsing more rapidly. We're approaching the target location, Kit announced. Satellite imaging shows that they have taken Diana to an abandoned industrial complex a couple of miles east of our location. Tires skidded, dirt flying up in a dust cloud as Michael adjusted his course. structure loomed against the dimming sky, its weathered facade a patchwork of rust and faded paint. Towering smokestacks stood like silent sentinels over the sprawling collection of warehouses and processing facilities. Yellow security lights flickered intermittently along the perimeter fence, casting a warning to those who approached. "All right, pal, activate your scanners." Michael eased Kit to a stop behind a dilapidated storage shed just beyond the reach of the complex's security cameras. His experienced eyes scanned the grounds, noting patrol patterns and blind spots with practiced efficiency. "I'm detecting 12 heat signatures in the east building," Kit reported. "One matches Diana's biometric profile. The others appear to be armed guards based on their movement patterns and thermal signatures indicating weapon systems." Michael's hand reached for the door handle. "Standard extraction, then. I go in, get Diana, you provide the getaway." Kit's voice modulator shifted to a lower, more serious tone. "Michael, your physical condition isn't what it used to be. Wait for backup. Victoria is only 10 minutes away. In 10 minutes, they could move Diana again." Michael shook his head, the determined expression on his face unchanged even after all these years. "I've been doing this since before Victoria Barstow was born. Your last physical evaluation indicated a 29% decrease in stamina and a 37% reduction in response time compared to your—" "Numbers on paper, buddy," Michael calmly interrupted. "They don't measure experience or gut instinct. They measure physical limitations that could compromise your safety," Kit quickly countered. "The guards are utilizing enhanced exoskeletal harnesses. Your typical engagement tactics will be insufficient." Michael patted the dashboard. "Then I'll just have to be smarter, won't I?" He slipped out before Kit could respond, moving with practiced stealth toward the east building. His body moved with the memory of 1,000 infiltrations, but the knees that had once carried him silently now creaked with each crouch and pivot. Michael ignored the discomfort, pushing forward with stubborn determination. Inside, the building's layout proved familiar. Standard industrial design meant predictable guard postings. He navigated the shadows with veteran skill, timing his movements between security sweeps. He subdued the first guard with a precise strike to the back of the neck, muscle memory compensating for diminished strength. The triumph was short-lived. As he approached the central area where Diana was being held, 2 guards rounded the corner unexpectedly. 20 years ago, Michael would have dispatched them both with one swift punch. Tonight, however, his first strike landed with impressive accuracy, but yielded abysmal results. One guard smirked beneath his visored helm before answering with a stiff backhand. His aging reflexes failed to dodge the counterattack. The second guard's exoskeleton-enhanced grip closed around Michael's wrist with crushing force. "Kit!" he gasped into his communicator. "I've got her!" Before Michael could finish, the first guard landed a blow that sent him staggering backward. The communicator crackled as it hit the concrete floor, along with Michael's unconscious body. "Intruder secured," the guard announced into his radio, his mechanically amplified arm easily hefting Michael over his shoulder, bringing him to containment with the primary target. The high-tech containment field hummed with energy, the soft blue glow of electromagnetic barriers casting an eerie glow across Diana Miles' determined face. She sat with perfect posture despite her captivity, her father's dignified demeanor evident in her expression. Across from her, Michael slumped against the wall, still recovering from the last blow. "You know, I'm reminded of the time you and Father had caviar with those French ambassadors," Diana said with a playful grin. "Heard you made quite the mess." Michael chuckled, shaking away the haze. "Yeah, I remember. I spilled it all over myself." Diana smirked. "Father said he had to take you aside and remind you that elegance was key at the table." "Yeah, he never let me forget that one." "At least you got the chance to learn from it," she cooed. Michael grinned, rubbing his head. "You would think, but now, here I am, a different kind of egg on my face." Their shared chuckles echoed off the sterile walls, a small rebellion against their imprisonment. "I appreciate the attempt at heroism, Michael," she said softly, "though perhaps you should have waited for backup." His pride bristled, but he managed a self-deprecating smile. Kit might have mentioned something along those lines. A guard stepped forward. "Enough talking." He backhanded Michael with casual brutality, metal-reinforced gloves splitting his eyebrow. "Contact Dr. Larson. Tell her Knight is becoming more trouble than he's worth." As the subordinate reached for his comm unit, a distant rumble grew into a roaring crescendo. The guards tensed, weapons raised toward the sound. "What the?" The wall exploded inward in a shower of glass and concrete. Through the dust cloud emerged a sleek midnight black motorcycle, its aerodynamic form humming with advanced technology, highlighted by the oscillating red light on its frame. The rider, clad in form-fitting tactical gear, launched from the seat in a graceful arc before the bike had fully stopped. "Kim, run offensive protocol Queen's Gambit." Victoria Barstow's voice rang out as she landed in a perfect crouch. The bike responded instantly, projecting an energy pulse that knocked two guards unconscious. "Already on it, boss," the motorcycle's distinctly feminine AI voice replied. Victoria moved with fluid precision, each motion quick yet devastating. Her first throw sent a disc-shaped device skittering across the floor, where it expanded into a web of crackling electricity, incapacitating three guards instantly. Her second attack combined a gymnast's flexibility with combat training that made Michael's eyebrows rise in begrudging respect, especially after she removed one guard's glove and used it to knock out two more with one punch. 8 hostiles neutralized in 11 seconds, Kim announced. "New personal best, Vic." "I can do better," she replied, without breaking stride, as she disabled another guard with a device that clung to his exo armor, short-circuiting the entire system. From a shadowed doorway, a slender silhouette appeared, distinctly feminine, with an unmistakable air of authority. For a brief moment, she observed the battle, then disappeared as alarms blared throughout the facility. "Dr. Larson is escaping through the east corridor," Kim reported. "We'll get her next time," Victoria responded, focusing on the containment field controls. With a few expert keystrokes, the barriers dissolved. She extended a hand to Diana, who accepted it with dignified gratitude. Victoria turned to Michael, unable to hide her smirk completely as she helped him up. "Mr. Knight, an honor to finally work with you." Michael forced a grin, pride warring with gratitude. "Nice entrance, kid. Your mother teach you that?" "Actually, she replied, turning her attention toward cuffing the prisoners. I learned that one from watching old mission footage. Yours, specifically. Munich, 1986, I believe. 85, he humbly corrected, moving to retrieve his watch. Kid's voice cut through the air as soon as he turned it on. Michael, thank goodness you're all right. Do you require assistance inside? He surveyed the scene. Victoria and Kim efficiently secured the last of the subdued guards, while Ms. Miles was already on her phone, reporting to the board of directors. Michael raised his communicator with a long sigh. I don't think either of us is needed here, old pal. The soft morning light filtered through the vast windows of the Knight Foundation headquarters, casting a golden glow across the polished floor. Diana Miles stood behind her father's old desk, hands placed firmly on its mahogany surface, as she surveyed the two operatives before her. Michael Knight occupied a leather armchair, his experienced frame settled into it with the casual comfort of someone who had sat there countless times before. Victoria leaned against a bookshelf, arms crossed, her posture suggesting she had better places to be. This isn't negotiable, Diana stated, her voice carrying the same authoritative tone Devon had once used. Dr. Larson's attack yesterday was just the beginning. You two will work together to bring her in. Michael shifted, wincing slightly as his bruised ribs protested. Diana, I appreciate what Victoria did at the compound, but I work alone. Always have. Except for Kit, Victoria remarked, a hint of amusement coloring her words. Kit's different, Michael replied sharply. I couldn't agree more. Victoria pushed herself away from the bookshelf. Kim and I have our own methods. We don't need to babysit a legacy operative and his vintage vehicle. Diana sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. Both of you, enough. This isn't about your egos or your preferred working styles. This is about stopping a threat neither of you is equipped to handle alone. Outside the office window, in the sprawling garage bay below, Kit and Kim were engaged in their own evaluation. The sleek black Trans Am and the cutting-edge motorcycle sat facing one another, sensors actively processing each other's systems and capabilities. Your turbine engine modification allows for impressive thrust ratios, Kit observed, its red scanner tracking smoothly across Kim's sleek frame. Thanks, old-timer, Kim replied, its voice module glowing with each syllable. My quantum processing core allows me to calculate escape trajectories 60% faster than your system. Plus, I don't need doors to let my rider in. I find my molecular bondage shell has served Michael well through 807 missions, Kit countered. Your polycarbon nanotube frame looks rather delicate by comparison. Delicate? Kim's engine revved indignantly. I can reconfigure my entire structure on the fly, changing to whatever my rider needs. When's the last time you changed anything besides your oil? Back in the office, Diana had opened a secure holographic displaying a personnel file. Dr. Glenda Larson, she explained. Brilliant scientist and engineer, specialized in both cybernetic and biokinetic technology. The Foundation recruited her 7 years ago, but... She hesitated, her expression troubled. But what? Michael pressed. Diana's finger hovered over the redacted sections. There were incidents, experiments with neurointerfacing that she claimed could save her husband, who suffered from a neurological disorder. I believed her experiments crossed ethical lines, so I ordered her to stop, but she didn't. Larson was terminated, but not before she downloaded classified information. What kind of information? Victoria asked, her professional curiosity overriding her earlier attitude. The kind that could compromise everything we've built, Diana answered, her tone grim. Including Kit and Kim. Michael and Victoria exchanged glances, a momentary understanding passing between them. Fine, Michael conceded with a reluctant nod. But we do this my way. Your way? Victoria scoffed. Your way got you captured yesterday. Kids, Diana interrupted, channeling Devon's peacekeeping spirit. You'll do this the Foundation way. Together. Michael rose slowly from his chair, extending a hand toward Victoria. She hesitated before taking it, their handshake firm but brief. For the record, Victoria said, I still think I could catch her faster on my own. Noted, Michael replied dryly, following her out the door. Sunlight glinted off the sleek metal and glass headquarters of Syngenics Corporation, its curved architecture punctuating the Silicon Valley skyline like an exclamation point. On a nearby bench outside, Michael Knight and Victoria Barstow observed the building with professional scrutiny, their initial antagonism having cooled to something resembling a reluctant truce. Dr. Larson's digital trail points here, Victoria said, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface projected from her wristband. Syngenics funded several of her rejected Foundation proposals, the dangerous ones. Michael nodded thoughtfully, studying the building's security layout with experienced eyes. Those guards aren't your typical corporate security. Ex-military stance, coordinated patrol patterns. I can hack their security system, Victoria offered, already typing commands. Slow down, Michael cautioned. Systems that sophisticated usually have counter-intrusion protocols. We need to scout first. Victoria paused, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. That's not a bad idea. She swallowed hard, confirming on her readout that she would have indeed tripped an alarm, but turned off her display without mentioning it. Behind them, Kit and Kim were parked side by side, conducting their own information exchange. Both gleamed in the California sun, their sensors continuously scanning the surroundings. Your thermal imaging resolution is quite impressive, Kit remarked, its modulated voice carrying an unusual warmth. I've never seen calibration that precise. Thanks, vintage model, Kim replied, though its typical snark had softened. Your pattern recognition algorithms are surprisingly advanced for your generation. Were those Bonnie's upgrades? Yes, Kit answered, with what almost sounded like pride. Our creator has a remarkable mind. Meanwhile, Victoria's eyes widened as her scan revealed something unexpected. Look at their power consumption. It's off the charts for a tech company this size. Michael leaned closer, studying the energy readouts. Underground levels, he deduced. That's where the real work happens. Back in '89, we busted a similar operation in Berlin. They always hide the good stuff below. Victoria smiled slightly. Cold War stories. Next, you'll be telling me you walked uphill both ways to your missions. In the snow, Michael added with a wry grin, while fighting KGB agents. The unexpected banter surprised them both. and a moment of awkward silence followed before Victoria returned to her scanner. "We need access credentials," she mumbled, focusing intently on the security protocols. "But their authentication system uses a quantum encryption that's going to take me hours to crack." Michael studied the employee entrance, his eyes tracking patterns others might miss. "The utility trucks," he said simply, pointing to a service entrance. "They don't scan the maintenance workers. See how that guard just waves them through?" Victoria watched the pattern repeat with the next service worker. "How did I miss that?" "Experience," Michael replied without condescension. "Tech isn't always the answer." Moments later, they approached the service entrance, disguised in maintenance uniforms, liberated from 2 workers, now taking a much-needed break in the back of their work truck. "So," Michael whispered, adjusting the tight-fitting uniform, "how long will our friends be enjoying their nap?" Victoria checked her watch, a hint of pride in her voice. "The hypospray sedative I gave them should leave them incapacitated for a couple of hours. Plenty of time for us to get what we need and disappear." Outside, Kit transmitted to Kim. "They're working well together. Better than expected. Don't sound so surprised." Kim responded with a light tone. "My girl knows what she's doing, and your driver. He's not completely obsolete." "High praise indeed," Kit replied, his scanner tracking with what could only be described as amusement. "Perhaps neither of us is replaceable, just differently capable." "Maybe," Kim conceded. "Your processing architecture has a certain elegance to it, and your adaptive systems show remarkable ingenuity," Kit returned, their technological exchange beginning to feel surprisingly like flirtation for 2 advanced AI systems. Meanwhile, deep underground in a fortified laboratory, Dr. Larson adjusted the final component of her latest creation. The sleek device, no larger than a smartphone, pulsed with a faint blue glow where circuitry connected beneath its transparent panels. Her delicate fingers tightened the last connection with surgical precision. "There, that should do it," she murmured to herself, running a diagnostic scan. The holographic display confirmed her success. "The Foundation thought they were so clever, terminating my contract before I could perfect my work. Now I'll demonstrate a taste of what they missed." The laboratory door hissed open, interrupting her moment of satisfaction. A security guard stepped in, his posture rigid. "Sorry, Doctor, but you're..." He paused, searching for the appropriate word. "Guests have arrived." Her lips curved into a tight smile. "Show me." He activated the wall display, revealing multiple security feeds. The doctor leaned forward, her sharp eyes focusing on the maintenance corridor, where Michael Knight and Victoria Barstow moved casually, yet cautiously. Despite their disguises, she recognized them immediately. "Predictable," she scoffed, watching them disable a secondary security node. "The old man and Bonnie's daughter. How nice of Diana to send them both." She tapped the screen, switching camera views to the exterior of the building. There, in the visitor parking area, sat Kit and Kim, gleaming in the afternoon sun. Dr. Larson's expression transformed from mild amusement to genuine delight. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation as she gazed at the 2 AI vehicles. "Perfect timing. Test subjects for my new device." She ran her hand lovingly over her latest creation before addressing the guard. "Let our visitors proceed a little further. I want them to think they're being clever." She moved toward the exit, device in hand. After all, the best trap is the one your prey walks into willingly. Michael and Victoria moved through the corridors of the Syngenics facility with casual stealth. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed softly, illuminating the pristine white walls. Victoria's tactical boots made barely a whisper against the polished floor as she checked her wrist device periodically, following the digital breadcrumbs she'd gathered from the facility's security system. According to the building schematics, Dr. Larson's lab should be just around this corner, Victoria whispered, her voice barely audible even in the quiet hallway. Michael nodded, still uneasy about the surveillance camera he glimpsed trailing them earlier. Age might have weathered his body, but his instincts remained sharp as ever. Wait! He halted suddenly, raising a hand. Someone's coming. They pressed themselves against the wall in unison, ducking into an alcove housing a maintenance panel. They observed Larson emerging from her laboratory, carrying a sleek device glowing with an ethereal blue light. Her confident stride and the careful way she cradled the device spoke volumes about its importance. "What's that?" Victoria breathed, her eyes fixed on the mysterious item. Michael's expression tightened as he watched Larson enter the elevator at the end of the corridor. "She's heading back up to the surface. We need to follow her." They shadowed Larson through the building, maintaining a careful distance. The doctor moved with purpose, occasionally checking the device in her hands with the satisfied smile of a creator admiring their masterpiece. When she finally pushed through the rear exit doors into the parking garage, Michael and Victoria exchanged a cautious glance before following. Suddenly, Larson stopped and turned, her movement so abrupt that neither Michael nor Victoria had time to conceal themselves. Well, if it isn't the Foundation's finest," she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Right on schedule." "It's over." Michael stepped forward, his stance ready for conflict. "Whatever you're planning stops now." The doctor laughed, the sound sharp and cutting in the cold air of the garage. "You know what your problem is, Knight. You're predictable, always have been, and predictable tactics lead to predictable outcomes." Victoria moved to flank her, hand hovering near her tactical belt. "Put the device down." "This," Dr. Larson held up the ominous object. "I'd rather demonstrate it." Her finger pressed a recessed button on its surface. The device emitted a pulse of energy that rippled through the air, invisible, yet palpable. Outside in the parking lot, Kit and Kim received the full brunt of the transmission. "Michael!" Kit's voice came through the communicator, unusually stressed. "Dr. Larson is attempting to override our systems with a targeted virus." "Kim!" Victoria called into her communicator, receiving only static in response. Instead of Kim's voice, they heard the motorcycle's engine roar to life. The sleek bike crashed through the garage entrance, tires squealing against concrete as it barreled toward them at frightening speed. "What have you done?" Victoria demanded, diving aside as Kim narrowly missed her. Dr. Larson smiled, watching the bike circle back for another approach. "I've simply given your partner an upgrade in loyalty. Fascinating how the car seems immune. Outdated systems have their advantages, it seems." Kim revved aggressively, her usually friendly voice now cold and mechanical. Target acquired. Neutralizing Foundation operatives. Michael pulled Victoria behind a concrete pillar as Kim launched forward again, the motorcycle's frame reconfiguring into an offensive posture with exposed weaponry on all sides. Kit, Michael called into his communicator. We need backup. Kim's been compromised. The motorcycle circled the duo, its sleek frame transformed into something more predatory. Nano components had shifted to reveal hidden weapon systems. Modifications Victoria hadn't even known existed. Kit's engine roared as he approached. I don't want to harm it, Michael. It is like me. You don't have a choice, buddy, Michael responded, ducking behind a concrete pillar as Kim shot past. Just disable its systems. Don't destroy it. Kit accelerated toward the rampaging motorcycle, positioning himself between Kim and the humans. Though the Trans Am appeared outdated compared to Kim's cutting-edge technology, Kit moved with the precision of decades of experience. Suddenly, alarms blared as security swarmed in. Victoria, Michael called, spotting the doctor making her escape toward the stairwell. Go after her. I'll handle the guards. Victoria nodded and sprinted after Larson, while Michael turned to face the approaching security team. His joints protested as he dropped into a fighting stance, but muscle memory took over. The first guard swung wildly. Michael sidestepped, using the man's momentum to send him sprawling into his colleagues. The garage echoed with the screech of tires and the roar of engines as Kit and Kim engaged in their forced duel. Kim darted forward, unleashing an electromagnetic pulse that would have disabled any normal vehicle. Predictable attack pattern, Kit observed, having already activated his protective countermeasures. Your programming is sophisticated, but lacks nuance. Kim swerved violently, its voice distorted by the virus. Nuance is inefficient. Superior technology prevails. Not always, Kit replied, deliberately leaking coolant onto the concrete before luring Kim into the slick puddle. The motorcycle's rear wheel lost traction, sending the bike sliding into a large pillar. Meanwhile, Victoria cornered Dr. Larson on the rooftop. It's over. Shut down the device. You don't understand, Larson shouted over the wind. Your precious foundation rejected my neural interface technology. Technology that could have saved thousands of lives. Her face contorted with pain as she looked down. My husband died waiting for approval that never came. Larson's gaze turned back towards Victoria, cold and calculating. Now, you can share his fate, she declared, pressing a button on her device. Below, Michael grunted as he took down another guard, each attack and parry taking more out of him than he cared to admit. He narrowly dodged Kim as she roared through the garage toward the roof, the motorcycle's targeting systems apparently focused on Victoria. Kit! Michael panted, dispatching another guard with an efficient strike. We're running out of time here. He sprinted through the parking structure, knees protesting each long stride, but determination pushed him through the discomfort. When Kit pulled alongside him, the car's door swung open in perfect synchronization with Michael's approach. "Get in, Michael. Victoria needs our assistance immediately." Michael slid into the familiar driver's seat with practiced ease. "Let's move, buddy." Kit accelerated up the ramp toward the roof, tires squealing. Kim's attack patterns indicate her primary targeting systems are focused on Victoria. However, Dr. Larson's virus hasn't completely overridden her core functions. "So there's still hope," Michael said, gripping the steering wheel. As they burst onto the rooftop, they witnessed Victoria dodging Kim's relentless pursuit while trying to stop Larson, who stood near the edge, clutching her device. "Tactical approach, Kit," Michael ordered. "Intercept pattern Delta." Kit swerved between Kim and Victoria, creating a protective barrier. The motorcycle crashed against Kit's reinforced side panel, the impact momentarily disorienting Kim's systems. "Stop, Glenda," Michael called through the open window. "We'll handle Kim." Victoria nodded, sprinting toward the scientist, while Michael and Kit moved to engage the menacing motorcycle. It didn't take her long to corner Dr. Larson, but empathy made Victoria halt her attack. "Your husband," she said, her voice softening unexpectedly. "That's what this is about, isn't it?" The doctor's composed facade cracked. "The Foundation denied my neural interface research, called it too unpredictable. 3 weeks later, Edward died waiting for a neural interface that could have saved him. I lost my father to the Foundation," Victoria replied. "I understand grief, but this isn't the way to honor him." For a moment, empathy passed between them. Two women shaped by personal loss. However, Larson's expression hardened as she reached for a hidden sidearm. "Understanding doesn't change anything." "You're right," Victoria agreed sadly, before grabbing the gun and delivering a precise strike that rendered her unconscious. She caught the falling device before it could hit the concrete. Behind her, Kim charged toward Kit once more, hitting its molecular bonded shell with a barrage of fire. Victoria examined the device, quickly identifying the control array, and deactivated it. The bike skidded to a halt mid-attack, systems momentarily shutting down before rebooting. "What just happened?" Kim's voice returned to normal as its systems came back online. "Victoria, why are we on a roof? My memory files show inconsistencies." Victoria sighed with relief. "It's a long story, partner." Michael emerged from Kit, looking battered but triumphant. "Nice work," he said, nodding appreciatively at Victoria. "Your father would be proud." Victoria smiled slightly, the highest compliment she could imagine receiving. The Foundation headquarters buzzed with activity as the team returned from their mission. Golden afternoon light streamed through the windows of Flag's main office. Diana Miles stood before the wall of screens displaying mission data, her authoritative presence commanding the room. Michael eased himself into one of the leather chairs with a barely concealed wince. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving his body to tally the cost of his recent exertions. Victoria seemed to notice his discomfort. but said nothing. The arrest of Dr. Larson prevented what could have been a catastrophic breach of our technological infrastructure, Diana said, turning to face them. Excellent work, both of you. We were lucky, Michael admitted. If Victoria hadn't identified the override sequence so quickly, we might have lost Kim entirely. Victoria shook her head. It wasn't luck. It was experience. Your experience. Diana studied Michael with perceptive eyes. How are you feeling, honestly? He exhaled slowly, looking down at his hands, still capable, but bearing the marks of time. I've been kidding myself, Diana. Fieldwork has become too physically demanding. I'm not as fast as I was, and in our line of work, that can be the difference between success and failure. The admission hung in the air, not a surrender, but an acknowledgement of reality. Diana nodded, unsurprised. I've been considering a proposal. We have new recruits coming in next month, bright, but green. They could use someone with real-world experience to guide them. Diana's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she unveiled her latest initiative. I'm calling it the Knight Legacy Program, with you as the director, Michael. Your experience is invaluable. Decades of field work, countless missions. You'd be shaping the next generation of operatives. Michael looked up, surprise evident on his face. The proposal caught him off guard, offering a path forward he hadn't considered. You want me to train them? Victoria leaned forward. It makes perfect sense. I learned more from you in 2 days than I did in 6 months of standard protocol training. She smiled, her eyes bright with genuine respect. With your experience, and I mean that in the best way possible, you could shape the next generation of agents. Michael caught both the gentle jest about his age and the sincerity behind her words. For the first time since the mission began, he felt the tension in his shoulders ease. I suppose Kit and I could share a few tricks of the trade. Kit has already volunteered to help develop the new training simulations, Diana added. He seems quite enthusiastic about the project. Later that night, as sunset painted the Pacific coastline in hues of amber and gold, Michael and Kit drove along the familiar winding road that had been their favorite for decades. The car's engine hummed with the same perfect pitch it always had. Some things remained constant despite all the changes around them. So, teacher instead of field agent, Michael mused, one hand resting lightly on the steering wheel. What do you think, partner? Kit's voice filled the cabin, thoughtful and warm. I think we have accumulated wisdom worth sharing. The Foundation needs institutional memory as much as it needs innovation. Michael leaned back in the driver's seat, fingers lightly drumming on the steering wheel as he navigated the coastal highway. You know, he said, breaking the short silence, I didn't think I'd ever be ready to step back from field work. Kit's voice module pulsed softly. Change is inevitable. Even my systems require periodic updates and modifications. Michael chuckled. Are you comparing my aging body to your outdated circuits, pal? Merely pointing out that adaptation is a form of survival. Kit replied with a hint of dry humor. Besides, teaching the next generation is hardly retiring. The Trans Am slowed at a familiar turnout, their favorite spot overlooking the Pacific before stopping completely. "We had a good run, didn't we?" Michael said softly. "We continue to have a good run," Kit corrected. "Our mission parameters have simply been adjusted." Michael gazed out over the vast Pacific, its surface shimmering as the last rays of sunlight danced upon the waves. The salt-tinged breeze ruffled his silver hair as he leaned against Kit's hood. "You know what I won't miss about fieldwork," he said, crossing his arms. "Those ridiculous undercover outfits Diana always insisted on." "The mariachi uniform in Tijuana was particularly memorable," Kit replied with a hint of sarcasm. "Though I believe the Elvis impersonator costume in Las Vegas caused more of a stir." "What stir?" Michael asked with a confident grin. "It was a successful mission. I stopped the racketeers, didn't I?" "Yes, indeed. Leaping off the stage to apprehend them just after winning first place in the contest," Kit reminded him. "Oh, is that jealousy I detect in your voice, buddy?" "Hardly, Michael. Just reminding you of the scene you caused." They fell into a comfortable silence, watching as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. "Ready to head back and start this new chapter?" Michael finally asked. "With you at the wheel?" Kit's voice warmed with affection. "Always, Michael. Always."